She pinned me down with impossible strength, her knees digging into the mattress on either side of my hips, her hands slamming my wrists above my head hard enough to make the wooden headboard creak in protest. The room was dark except for the thin sliver of moonlight slicing through the half-drawn curtains, painting silver edges across her bare shoulders and the wild tangle of her midnight black hair. Rain hammered against the window like frantic fingers, matching the thunder of my heart. Her name was Vesper, and until 30 seconds ago she had been the quiet, intense woman I'd met in the bookstore 3 weeks earlier, the one who quoted poetry in dead languages and whose laugh made the corners of her eyes crinkle like she was surprised by joy itself. We had spent the evening talking, then kissing, then stumbling into my apartment with clothes already half gone. Now she straddled me, breathing hard, eyes glowing with something feral and hungry that made my blood run hot and cold at the same time. I could feel the power in her body. Not gym-tone strength, but something deeper, older, like gravity itself had decided to obey her. My chest heaved beneath her weight, every inhale pressing me harder against the sheets. She leaned down, lips brushing my ear, teeth grazing the shell just enough to send electricity racing down my spine. "Mine," she whispered, voice low and rough, almost a growl. "Tonight you're mine, and I'm not letting you go." Her grip on my wrists tightened, nails sharp enough to prick skin. I should have been afraid. Part of me was. But the rest of me was on fire, caught between the thrill of surrender and the strange, aching tenderness blooming in my chest at the way she looked at me like I was the only real thing in her universe. She shifted, hips rolling once in a slow, deliberate motion that drew a ragged sound from my throat. Her free hand trailed down my chest, claws, no, not claws, just nails, I told myself, scraping lightly over my skin, leaving faint red lines that stung in the best way. The air between us crackled with tension, thick and electric. She was trembling, I realized suddenly. Not from weakness, but from restraint, as if holding herself back from something far more dangerous than passion. I swallowed, throat dry. "Vesper." "Shoo," she kissed me hard, swallowing my words, her mouth claiming mine with a desperation that felt almost violent. Her tongue tasted of rain and something metallic, like ozone after a lightning strike. When she pulled back, her eyes had changed, pupils blown wide, the irises flickering with threads of silver that definitely weren't human. My breath caught. "What are you?" The question slipped out before I could stop it. She froze above me, every muscle locking into place. For one suspended heartbeat the only sound was the rain and our ragged breathing. Then her expression shattered, something raw and wounded flashing across her face so fast I almost missed it. She didn't answer. Instead she pressed my wrists harder into the mattress, leaning her full weight down until I could barely move. Her hair fell around us like a curtain, shutting out the world. "Does it matter?" she breathed against my lips. "Right now, in this bed, does it matter what I am?" I could have lied. I could have said no and let the moment carry us both over the edge. But the way her voice cracked on the last word twisted something deep inside me. This wasn't just lust. This was fear wrapped in desire, loneliness wearing the mask of hunger. "Yes," I whispered. "It matters. Because I see you. All of you." Her body went rigid. The silver threads in her eyes brightened, casting faint light across my face. For a terrifying second I thought she might bolt, or worse, that whatever she was hiding might lash out. Instead she stayed perfectly still, pinned on top of me like a statue carved from moonlight and shadow. I took the chance. My voice dropped to the softest whisper, barely audible over the rain. "You're beautiful." The words landed like a stone in still water. Vesper's breath hitched sharply, a broken sound that tore straight through my chest. Her hands spasmed around my wrists, the pressure easing just enough for blood to rush back into my fingers. She stared down at me, eyes wide with disbelief, as if I had spoken in a language that should have been impossible for a human to know. "Beautiful," she repeated, the word cracking like thin ice. A single tear, glowing faintly, silver as starlight, slid down her cheek and fell onto my chest, warm and tingling where it touched skin. "You don't understand. No one has ever, not like this." Her weight shifted, but she didn't release me. Instead she lowered herself until our foreheads touched, her trembling body pressed fully against mine. I could feel her heart racing, faster than any human heart should beat, a wild staccato that matched the storm outside. "I came here to hunt," she confessed, voice barely more than breath. "To feed. To take what I needed and disappear before dawn. That's what my kind does. We move through your world like shadows, beautiful and terrible, leaving empty shells behind. I chose you because you looked kind. Lonely. Easy." Another tear fell, then another. They left faint glowing trails on my skin that slowly faded, like dying embers. "But you looked at me across the counter in that bookstore and smiled like I was real. Not prey. Not a monster wearing a pretty face. Just me." Her voice broke completely on the last word, raw with centuries of isolation. "And tonight, when I finally had you here, under me, ready to take everything, you whispered that I'm beautiful." She shuddered, a full-body tremor that rippled through every point where we touched. The silver in her eyes dimmed, then flared brighter, revealing the truth she could no longer hide. Her skin shimmered, revealing delicate patterns beneath, swirling marks like constellations, glowing faintly blue and violet. Small, elegant horns curved back from her temples, half hidden in her hair. When she exhaled, a faint mist of light escaped her lips. "I'm not human," she said, the confession spilling out like a dam breaking. "I'm something older. Something that should terrify you. I've watched empires rise and fall. I've fed on desire and fear for longer than your bloodline has existed. And yet, one whisper from you and I can't move. I can't take what I came for." I lay perfectly still beneath her, heart aching with a tenderness so fierce it hurt. The fear was still there, humming low in my veins, but it was drowned beneath something stronger: wonder, protectiveness, a desperate need to keep this broken, powerful creature from shattering. My wrists were still pinned, but I turned my hand's palm up, fingers seeking hers. "Then don't take it," I whispered. "Stay. Just stay like this. Let me see you. All of you." Vesper made a sound halfway between a sob and a laugh, raw and disbelieving. Slowly, so slowly, her grip loosened. Her fingers interlaced with mine, holding on like I was the only anchor in a storm that had raged for lifetimes. She didn't move off me, but the crushing strength gentled into something almost reverent. "You should be screaming," she murmured against my throat, lips brushing skin. "You should be fighting. Begging me to let you go. Instead you call me beautiful while I hold you down like prey." "Because you are beautiful," I said, voice steady even though my pulse hammered. "The horns, the light under your skin, the way your eyes look like galaxies when you're trying not to cry. All of it. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen." Another tear fell, this one landing on my lips. It tasted like salt and starlight. She pulled back just enough to look at me fully. The moonlight caught the shimmering patterns on her shoulders and collarbones, making her look like living constellations brought to earth. Her expression was naked now. Vulnerability laid bare, centuries of hunger and loneliness crashing against the fragile dam of my simple words. "I've killed for less," she whispered, but there was no threat in it anymore, only aching honesty. "Taken lives because someone looked too close and saw the monster. But you look closer and see something worth saving." Her hips shifted again, but this time it wasn't hunger driving the motion. It was need, the desperate ache of being truly seen for the first time in endless years. The tension in the room thickened, suspense coiling tighter as the line between danger and desire blurred beyond recognition. I lifted my head, straining against the last of her restraint, and pressed a soft kiss to the corner of her mouth. "You don't have to be a monster tonight," I murmured. "You don't have to be alone." Vesper's control finally cracked. A low, broken sound escaped her as she released my wrists completely, only to wrap her arms around me instead, pulling me up into a crushing embrace. Her body trembled violently against mine, the glowing patterns flaring brighter, illuminating the room in soft blues and violets. I held her back just as tightly, one hand sliding up to cradle the back of her head, fingers threading carefully through hair and around the delicate curve of one horn. "I'm scared," she admitted into my neck, voice muffled and small in a way that shattered me. "Scared that if I let myself feel this, I won't be able to leave when morning comes." Scared that you'll change your mind when the light hits and you see every inch of what I really am. Then stay until morning, I whispered, pressing kisses along her jaw, her temple, the sensitive place where horn met scalp. Stay longer. Let me prove I'm not going anywhere. The rain outside intensified, thunder rolling low and distant like the universe itself was holding its breath. Vesper pulled back just far enough to look into my eyes, her own shimmering with unshed tears and something brighter, hope, fragile and newborn. You have no idea what you've done, she said softly, wonder threading through the words. One whisper, and you've pinned something far more dangerous than I ever pinned you. She kissed me then. Not with the earlier ferocity, but with a slow, trembling reverence that spoke of surrender. Her hands roamed my body with new gentleness, tracing every line as if memorizing a map to a home she'd never thought she'd find. I touched her in return, fingertips exploring the glowing constellations on her skin, feeling the faint vibration of power humming beneath. The suspense lingered, heavy and sweet, the knowledge that she could still snap, still feed, still disappear with the dawn. But in that moment, with her body warm and trembling against mine and her whispered confessions painting the dark, fear gave way to something deeper. Connection. Acceptance. The beginning of a love story written in starlight and whispered words, where a monster found beauty in being seen, and a human found courage in holding her anyway. Outside, the storm raged on, but inside the room, two unlikely souls clung to each other, hearts beating in imperfect synchrony, waiting to see what the morning would bring and whether the beautiful creature who had pinned me down would choose to stay pinned by something far stronger than strength.